Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Facebook Live with Gamma Quilting, the self-isolation sessions. We are here to entertain, inform, and possibly even amaze you. Today we are live from Beloit, Wisconsin at the Heart of Quilting, where our very own Sue Kleinschmidt is going to bring you the tools in her quilting toolbox. Let's all welcome Sue Kleinschmidt!
Hello and welcome to At the Heart of Quilting. We are the dealers for Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa, Minnesota, and the UP of Michigan. Thank you, Rob, for that great introduction. Today I'm going to be talking about our my quilter's toolbox, different things, techniques, and stuff like that I use in quilting on quilts. Come on over. So a couple of things that I use before I get started. Just a few things that I use. This quilt is already basted down, so I've got it all basted. We do a couple of different things before I get started. Before the quilt goes on, I actually will use a sticky roller. This one right here. You can get these at Dollar General, places like that. And I will get rid of all of the threads and whatnot underneath the quilt. And I'll just run it across the back side of the quilt. If it's really bad on the front side, if they haven't done a lot of trimming of their threads, I'll use it on the front as well. Otherwise, I will use our cotton picker we have. And so you just switch it around and smooth it across the quilt, and it picks up all sorts of the lint and threads. So, and this is great for clothes too if you have pets. Other things that I'll use before I get started quilting. Obviously, if you're doing edge-to-edge quilts, you want to make sure that you have a nice long 120 wide or 120 long measuring tape. I like mine because it's flexible, so that you can measure out your quilt lengths and stuff like that. Batting, make sure your backing is the same length as the batting. So I'll use that. When I'm cutting my batting, I like to actually use my batting scissors. These are really nice. It's got a nice angle on it, so if you're on a table, you don't have to bend down and get your arm down too low. The other nice thing is it's got a nice rounded tip, so you're not going to catch any of the batting and rip it as you're cutting it. So, nice batting scissors. So I tend to float my quilts. And so what that means is I don't attach it to my top leader here. So when I float it, you can either use a couple of different things. You can use your red snappers. I tend to use my magnets. You can use the Gamma Quilting clips. Those are the 2-inch. The 2-inch is what you would use for your steel tables. The 1.5-inch clips you would use for your Home Pro tables. And I would suggest getting 2 sets of those. That will give you 8 total clips. So before I put my magnets on, I will use my Gamma Junior to smooth out the quilt. This smooths out the quilt top as well as the backing. So if you have any lumps in the backing, and I'll do this after every advance. So I kind of just take that and drag it across, all the way across the quilt, and then I'll just smooth that down with a straight edge, or if you have the Gamma Junior, great. And then we tend to use magnets. Now magnets don't come with these cute little knobs on them. You're going to have to cut those off and make them yourself, but I do have a few of these. So I'm going to smooth that down, and then it sticks nicely to the belly bar of the table. Nice and tight as well. There you go. So magnets are another cool little tool that I have in my quilter's toolbox. So those are just a couple of things that I use to get ready. Another thing that I use is a spray bottle. So if you take a look at this backing that I am preparing for my next quilt, I did take and I sprayed this side earlier today. And then I'll just show you on this side what we do. This is a great spray bottle. It actually has a like a bladder to it, if you will, on the inside. So it gives it a nice pressurized spray mist, if you will. I'm using regular water, nothing fancy. And then I just kind of spray it across. Notice how if I let it go, it keeps spraying. Okay, so you want to make sure that you get all the wrinkles. Make sure you don't spray your controller that's behind there. There you go. And we'll let that sit. And if I have to, I'll spray it again a little bit later. So that's a nice little tool that I like to have, and I do use this a lot because I do not like ironing at all. So. The next thing that we'll use, obviously, before you get started is your bobbin winder. All the machines come equipped with a bobbin winder, onboard bobbin winder. Right there. Thanks, Rob. This is the standalone bobbin winder that Gamble sells. So we're going to take our cone of thread here, and we're going to wrap it up just like that. You're going to come through your guide. You're going to run it to the back first, being sure to hold on to it so it does drop into the discs. And this is your tensioner. These should all be set when you purchase them from Gamble. There's a couple of different ways to do this, but I like to run the thread through the opening right there. And then you want to make sure that you line up your guide as such. I'm going to hold on to that. I'm going to engage. And I like to use variable. And I'll just pull that loose once it starts. All right. And we'll pause that for right now. So that's another little tool that I use to get ready. Obviously you need your bobbins, so one of the two ways, either on the machine or on the standalone bobbin winder, are the two options that you have. All right. So those are just a couple of things that we use to get started. I will test my tension beforehand, even though I usually test it out from the previous quilt. But if you're using different thread, if you have a different quilt, obviously, if it's poly cotton, different things like that, you want to make sure you test your tension. And we actually have central vacuum tubing, and our very own Bill Kleinschmidt cuts these up for us. And so it's just a nice little tool to use to clamp on your sandwich piece onto your edge of your quilt here, on the edge of the table. And then you can take your machine head and then just do your stitching off on the side. So usually 4 clamps is plenty that you're just using on the side to check your tension. It's nice, a small piece, so that you can flip it over and check it as you go. Okay. So those are just a few things that I use before I get started. Once I'm quilting, I like to use a couple of other things. So if you take a look, we have back here a mirror. So some people will get a couple of these. These mirrors are, you can get at Walmart or whatever for $10, $15. We just use the one because we can slide it across the table. But it allows you a nice big area to check your tension up underneath once you get started. The other tool that I absolutely love, because you know we're getting a little older here and our eyesight's going, but these LED lights are nice and bright for up underneath the quilt, so you can check and check your head, check your stitching from up underneath. Okay, so those are two of the tools that we like to use while quilting. The next one is every bobbin change. We all know that we need to clean out that bobbin area, so every bobbin change you will clean. We use a 1-inch paintbrush, just like this. It does not have to be really nice. We don't want a real smooth brush bristle. We want it kind of stiff. We're going to go in and we're going to sweep from the back forward. Okay, you see there's a lot of fuzzies in there. So I'm going to continue to do that until I have no more fuzzies coming out. Both sides, back and forth. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I take a Q-tip and I get inside of the hopping foot. Get a lot in there. And then I will sweep above your hook assembly here. I'm going to just take my Q-tip in there and bring that out. And he's pretty dirty there too. So again, you just keep cleaning, sweep through there until it's completely clean. Okay, every bobbin change, ladies and gentlemen. That'll help keep your machine running smoothly. All right. And then obviously you've got a seam ripper. Everyone needs to have a seam ripper. So I did have a friend one time say, actually it was Jeannie Thorpe. Jeannie said, if you haven't actually unsewn a quilt in your lifetime, you are not a true long arm quilter. So thank you, Jeannie. I have mastered that long arm tip. All right. So those are different tools that I use while quilting. A couple of things that I will use after I'm quilting. So come on back to the back of the table here. So I do have a clean towel. We've got a lot of towels that you probably have used over the years. Just keep cut them in quarters or whatever. And so before I drop my quilt, I will completely wipe down the back end of the table. In the winter, be sure to keep in contact with some metal so you don't want to give your machine a little shock. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wipe down everything back here as I go across the table. And then also the rails, front and back. Okay. And if you have an older style table like the one you see here, we have what you call is a zippy rail cleaner. So if you take a look, it's got a cutout of the grooves that you've got in the table. And then you just drop it down in. And then voila. Little fuzzies, little grease, and then just wipe that off. Okay, a little soap and water when it gets a little grungy, cleans that up nicely. Now if you have the breeze, I just tend to use the any kind of cloth that I have on the table, and then I'll just wipe those V-shaped areas out. Okay. Those are just the cleaning. Before I drop the machine or drop the quilt top, I'll use those every single time. Okay. Again, I pin, so when I drop the pins from the top edge of the quilt, they'll probably be on the table. The other tool that I like to use is a little magnetic wand. Okay, and so once I get done, I'll just kind of sweep across, grab all the pins, and then I'll go ahead and put them into my little dish. And this is nice because you can put it right on the side of the table. Okay. So a couple more tools that I like to use. This is a soft touch thread pick. It's like a very small, I don't know if you can see that, Rob. It's a little crochet hook, okay? And this guy is used for, if you take a look at this, I don't know if you can see that thread in there. It's right there, okay? So I would take that thread pick and I would work my way into the fabric, gently poking in, and then try to pull out that thread. Okay? And once you kind of get it out, you can work a little bit a section at a time. There's a little bit of red that came through. And then I would clip it, and then I would just move over and grab it. So that's just in case you've sewn in a thread that's very visible. You can use that soft pick to get that out. The other thing that we might use, usually not too much because we're pretty good with our machine, but back when I used to do a lot more freehanding, I would tend to swoop a little bit too far with my machine and then get a couple of threads in on the quilt onto an area that I didn't want. But these are micron pens. They're real fine tipped fabric pens, if you will. And then I will use these to color in thread that I didn't want to have show. There you go. So those are micron pens. We tend to use those once in a while. There you go. And that's kind of it for my tools that I use. I don't know if there are any questions that you can see on there, Rob? No? All right. So what I'd like to do is, it would be great if some of you were to share some of your tips and tricks that you have or tools that you have on the GAML Facebook group. Thank you, and have a great day. Be sure to check other days, every day, GAML Live, 10:30 and 3 o'clock daily. Thank you.